Hey, shalom, brothers and sisters on YouTube. This is Brother Richard from Altruistic Torah Studies. And today I'm coming to you with study number 10, Commandment 10. Okay? So it's taken me a little bit to put this together, and it's been a bit painstaking and also with a heavy heart on some of it because you read the scriptural um, rendition of individuals that transgressed on the Father's commandments, and it did not go well for them. So that's part of the reason why I wanted to elaborate on the commandments to a basic degree, um, and also to give a little bit of thought to what maybe the spiritual as well as the physical aspect of commandment keeping has, what it has to do with. Okay, so I've touched on a bit of this on the other commandments, and man, Commandment 10 is just like so encompassing. Okay, you wouldn't maybe say on the surface that it is, but once we get to reading here, you're going to get a grip on it. Okay, it's going to be maybe a little drawn out, but you stick around and make sure that you like and or subscribe and send this to somebody else, for crying out loud. The commandments are Bible, and they are now and in our face, and that is what reality is. The only way that you can please the Father is simply the ways that He's given you to please Him, by keeping His commandments. The Mashiach says these things all throughout the renewed covenant, okay? Through Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and Shaul repeats these things, okay? So here we go with commandment number 10. And we're going to use a couple of witnesses, and we're going to even use more than a couple of witnesses, okay? Let's start off with Exodus 20. And by the way, I'm going to read quite a bit off of the prints that I have here because, committing things to memory is a good thing, but yet, continually to read over them through the years, it just jumps off the page. So without any more delay, Exodus 20, verse 17. You do not covet your neighbor's house. You do not covet your neighbor's wife, nor your neighbor's male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, or whatever belongs to your neighbor. Okay, that is the first mention of the 10th commandment. So we can turn to Deuteronomy 5, verse 21 for a second witness and also a reminder, and this is in the Torah, the first 5 books of Moshe. You do not covet your neighbor's wife, nor do you desire your neighbor's house, his field, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, his ox, or his donkey, or whatever belongs to your neighbor. So we're listening to this, and we hear that you do not covet your neighbor's wife. You do not covet or desire his house. So not only do you not covet and look upon these individual things that are mentioned, you don't dwell upon them, because dwelling upon them is going to get you in a lot of trouble. Okay, that's all there is to it. So we do sin, and there are sins that are not actuality, as in physicality. It starts with your intentions. If you intend to covet something, you look at something and you desire this thing, and you have an unhealthy desire for something that doesn't belong to you, or for someone that doesn't belong to you, okay, that right there can turn into something else. Words can come out of your mouth later on. So your intentions, you're like, okay. And then later on, your thoughts, you're going to dwell upon these things. And if you dwell upon these things, generally they're going to come out of your mouth. Okay. And then they start to become real problems. Okay. Then the next thing is, it may well turn into an action. So your intentions, your thoughts, which are tied to your emotions and your thoughts, your words, and then your actions. Okay, so maybe in that order, but yet I've spoke about these things before, and I'm not specifically trying to talk about those kind of the basics of what we've already went over. But yet you should understand this, because it starts somewhere, and you have to squash it. You have to step on its neck. You understand where I'm coming from? Because this happens. People have thoughts, and they don't always belong to you. You have to take and and deny those thoughts. And you have to replace them with righteousness, righteous thoughts. And you can do that. We have a whole gigantic compilation called the Torah and the prophets and the writings in the renewed covenant that you could place in that spot as opposed to filthy desires, right? So let's continue in. Let's go quickly, or not so quickly, to the book of, or the scroll of, Proverbs, or wisdom. That's right, wisdom. So Proverbs 12:12, it says, the wrong, who are the wrong? The wrong are the lawless and or the wicked, right? The wrong shall covet the catch of evildoers, what they have. But the root of the righteous yields fruit. The root of the righteous. What is our root? Mashiach Yahushua. He is the root. Yes, absolutely. Okay. So that's a good thought process. Always looking in the Proverbs, because you will find everything in the Proverbs. So let's move on a little bit and let's kind of pinpoint a couple of things. Number one, this is a negative commandment. It says, you will not covet. So this is something you will not do. You should not do this, okay? You will not covet your neighbor's house. You will not covet your neighbor's wife. And in Exodus, it says his house first. In Deuteronomy, it says his wife first. Well, here's the thing. Number one, your wife is considered your household, okay? And so that absolutely goes together, all right? So it's not one changing the direction of the other. This is still the same witness, okay? And what we want to do now is we want to look at the word covet, okay? The word covet, okay? And let's even look in the Hebrew. And there is a word, a Hebrew word for covet, and it's hamad, or hamad, okay? And it consists of the letter He, Mem, and Dalet, okay? And so we went over this previously, but we're going to go over this again. Hamad itself. He means to behold, to look upon with amazement. Now, remember, we're talking about the word covet and not coveting, okay? So let's consider that as we go along. So to behold, to look upon with amazement, revelation, look upon with great desire, as into sigh for, or a sight that is of great interest. This can be with righteous or unrighteous intentions / desires. So you can behold something with a righteous intention or unrighteously, and have an evil eye is what they call it in the scriptures. That was He, all right? So Mem is water. It is liquid in form. You know, you can't really handle it real well, right? Waves. The word Mem has something to do with waves. The word strong, mighty, massive can be chaotic in nature, even dangerous. The waves of the ocean, perhaps. Unable to be bridled by man alone. The unknown, uncontrollable outcome. Only one can control the waves of the sea. Water boundaries set by Abba Yahuwah on earth. Only he did that and could do that. He divided the waters above from the waters below. He walked on water, and he split the Reed Sea. So the Father is not put in a box and doesn't have and is accused of not having the ability to control all the elements. Okay, he can control all forms of matter, whether it be physical and or spiritual. Be sure of that. Okay, so Mem. All right, so we can see how there's some positive concepts to He and some positive concepts to Mem, as well as some negative to both of these. Now let's move on to Dalet, which is a door. Who's the door? Window, entry and exit, going in and out. You're coming in and you're going out, right? An opening that leads to righteousness in covenant, and an opening that can lead to destruction outside. Outer darkness related to a closed door, separation from the covenant. Bad deal there. To dangle, likened to a door / curtain in a doorway. A protection. This door is a protection. A separation, a set apartness, a compartmentalized set apartness. We are set apart to Yahuwah through Yahushua HaMashiach. A gateway. Who's the gate? To the sheepfold. There's that. Also, as in poor in spirit. Okay, this can also have something to do with being poor in spirit, hanging your head like the door is hanging. Your countenance has fallen, as in how Cain was jealous of Havel, okay? And he murdered him for it too, by the way. It started in intentions, right? It turned into murder. Jealousy turned into murder. Related to being kept out, separated from the household / the wedding chamber when the door is closed behind him, behind Mashiach, and the 5 wise virgins comes to mind, okay? A protected door, okay? Opened for Noah, okay? Let's see. A way that was opened for Noah. A way. How was the way? The ark. Him and his family was in the ark. And his generation, his family. On the other side of this door, that Abba Yahuwah shut the door to the ark himself. Okay? And on the other side of this door was the wicked to be destroyed. So this Hamad is a pretty interesting thought process. Mashiach Yahushua is the door to righteousness, salvation, protection, life, eternal, a narrow opening on a narrow pathway for a remnant, which is a small group of people. Everything else is a doorway to death, a wide pathway, and that'll happen for many. So we're talking about the word covet right here. So we're going to read, since this is something we're not to do, we're going to read about the negativity of the word hamad, hey, mem, dalet. To look upon with great desire as into sigh for. To dwell upon. Unrighteous intentions and desires. To dwell upon with unrighteous intentions and desires. It can be chaotic in nature, even dangerous. It can be chaotic and dangerous, just like the waves of the sea. And it is the doorway, the window, the entry and exit. It can lead to destruction, outer darkness, a closed door, and separation from the covenant. Being kept out, separated from the household or the wedding chamber, not a good deal. And is a doorway to death, a wide pathway for many. So hamad, in a negative sense, covetousness, can lead to the thought process itself. You'll desire things unrighteously. It's going to be chaotic and dangerous for you because you might very well be left on the outside of the covenant, and where there will be wailing and gnashing of teeth, and that is a bad deal. So that is the description of what to covet in a negative way means in Hebrew, the Hebrew word hamad. Okay, so let's move on, and we'll move on to a source of information, which is the Brown Driver Briggs, and it's like a what do you call it? A concordance. Okay, it is a concordance. Okay, and so we could read all the positive parts, but this is a commandment of something that you should not be doing. So part of what Brown, Driver, and Briggs would say, covetousness in a bad sense of inordinate, ungoverned, selfish desire followed by accusation, lustful desire. B, to take pleasure in or of idolatrous tendencies. That's a bad deal. Let's see. How long do scorners delight in scorning? Scorning is actually is wickedness and talking against the covenant, which is a bad deal, and delighting in it furthermore. Less often in the good sense. So this covetousness, covet is more often in a negative sense. Okay, and so this is a witness through once again Brown Driver Briggs concordance. I'll look up this book over here. It's got the word on it. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. Now I'm going to tell you something. Going through here, looking for the witnesses, my heart was broken. I literally cried about this, and I've read these scriptural accounts before, but it just it hit me hard, And I believe the further we get into this, and the more we think upon these things, the more we understand them in depth. Yeah. So here is an example in Genesis 3. Okay, Genesis 3, verse 1. And what I put ahead of this, I put Hasatan wanted to be obeyed. He wanted to be listened to. He coveted a man's wife. He coveted Yahuwah's worship. He coveted the faithful creation of Yahuwah, and he wanted to be Elohim. Genesis 3, verse 1. And then Nahash, which is the serpent, was more crafty than all the lives of the field which Yahuwah Elohim had made. And he said to the woman, is it true that Elohim has said, do not eat of every tree of the garden? Mm. And the woman said to the Nahash, we are to eat of the fruit of the trees. Let me repeat that again. Is it true that Elohim has said, do not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the Nahash, we are to eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but not of the fruit of the tree, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden. Elohim has said, do not eat of it, nor touch it. Okay, not only don't eat of it, don't even put your hands on it. Don't consider it, lest you die. Okay? And then Nahash said to the woman, Satan said to the woman, the serpent, you shall not certainly die. He called the father a liar. And he's deceiving Hawa, or Eve, as you would call her. For Elohim knows that in the day that you eat of it, your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be like Elohim, knowing good and evil. Okay, so that part's true, but half-truths are still lies, okay? The thing of it all is you're not going to be like Elohim because you are not going to exist in this state forever. This actually does cause men and women to start to die from the earth, this very moment. So this is murder as well. So this is covetousness, and covetousness leads to murder, which is planned out, okay? Unfortunately. And the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, the shiny thing. And the tree, and a tree desirable to make one wise. She wanted to be smarter. And she took of its fruit and ate. And she also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. He wasn't leading at that point, was he now? Because he knew that he is the one that is supposed to lead in the marriage. And he also knows to obey the father. So there's no excuse. And see, the thing of it all is he is going to take responsibility. Yes, Hawa did this first, but that doesn't matter. She was under his care. He is supposed to watch after his wife. Okay? Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked. They were no longer clothed. And they sewed fig leaves together and made loin coverings for themselves. They were no longer clothed with the Ruach HaKodesh. They were not clothed to begin with clothes, but they had an innocence that there was no sin in there. So they didn't think upon things like that. Okay, so that right there is an example in Genesis 3. Let's move on to Genesis 6. And I will say the fallen messengers coveted women and flesh form itself. They wanted women, and they wanted to be over the flesh forms. And they coveted worship from Yahuwah's creation, and to disrespect and disrupt man by seducing and having intercourse with women, genetically destroying mankind, trying to thwart the birth of the Messiah by polluting the gene pool. See, this was a huge plan. It wasn't just, hey, let's go down and mate with the women. That wasn't what it was. And by the way, this is Genesis 6. And this happened, okay? And is happening most probably today. As in the days of Noah, so will the coming of the Son of Man be. Okay? Look that up. Genesis 6, let's go on this. And it came to be, when men began to increase on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of Elohim saw the daughters of men, that they were good looking, beautiful. And they took wives for themselves, all of whom they chose. They came out of their first abode, their estate as being watchers, and they came down and mated with the women instead. And Yahuwah said, my spirit, my Ruach, shall not strive with man forever in his going astray. He is flesh, and his days shall be 120 years. There's more to the 120-year concept, but yet the surface level is 120 years for an individual male, okay, and female, approximately, yeah. And the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards the Nephilim, which are the offspring of the fallen angels mixing and mating with the women. Right. These were giants, and we'll hear about this. Okay. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of Elohim, the messengers, the fallen ones, came in to the daughters, had sex with the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, the men of name. These were giants. These were murderous giants that had a voracious appetite for flesh. They didn't need it; they wanted it. And Yahuwah saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth. They had mixed with these things and worshipped them too. That's bad. That's quite a bit of commandment breaking right there. And that every inclination, their inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. So his intentions were to do evil, and his thoughts followed his intentions along with his emotions and words and actions. Okay, and Yahuwah was sorry that he made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. And Yahuwah said, I am going to wipe off man, whom I am created from the face of the ground, both man and beast, creeping creature, and bird of the heavens, for I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah, found favor in the eyes of Yahuwah. This is the genealogy of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, perfect in his genealogy, in his generations. Noah walked with Elohim. Noah's family did not copulate with the fallen angels. Do you understand? These are a remnant, 8 people that didn't copulate spiritually and or physically with these fallen angels. So that is another bit of covetousness. One by Hasatan, another one by Hasatans, which means adversaries. They're adversarial to the Father. Their message is against anti-Messiah, against the Messiah, against the Father who is the Messiah. So that was their thing in trying to thwart the natural birth of a genealogically clean line of individuals that would eventually birth Mashiach, Yahushua, onto the earth through a woman named Miriam. Yes. So born in the flesh and the spirit at the same time. So this is what got me. Okay. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 11. 2 Samuel chapter 11. This killed me. And I will preface this by saying King David coveted, breaking the 10th commandment, Bathsheba, and committed adultery with her, breaking the 7th commandment. Arranged for Uriah's death / I would say murder. That broke the 6th commandment and broke many at once. He broke all of them, actually, just about, because he obviously wasn't considering Abba Yahuwah. He was more considering what he wanted, and that is also idolatry when we choose ourselves or things above the Father. There's more to it. Let's just keep on, because this broke me down. 2 Samuel 11:2. And it came to be at evening time that David rose up from his bed and walked about on the roof of the sovereign's house. And from the roof he saw a woman bathing. And the woman was very good to look at. She was a beautiful woman. And David sent and asked about the woman. And one said, Is this not Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? And David sent messengers to fetch her anyway, And she came to him, and he lay with her, for she was cleansing herself from her uncleanness whenever she was bathing outside. And she returned to her house. And the woman conceived. He got her pregnant. And sent and informed David and said, I am pregnant. So that's horrible. I've read a bit where it said that she laid with him, where it could have been even considered a forcible thing, that she wasn't completely willing. But as him being the king, she had to show up over there because she was summoned, right? So however that went over, I know that a woman is supposed to cry out as well. And there's no proof here that she cried out argue the point. So whether she did this willfully or did not, it's in the words. You could look in the Hebrew, and it could mean that, but yet there's nothing about her calling out. Only that she sent word back to him that she was pregnant after the fact. And so we'll move on a little bit, and we'll come down to 2 Samuel 11:14, and we're going to see what David wants to do about this. Okay, so I know that David had sent for Uriah, and Uriah had come to David, and David told him, "Hey, go to your house and be with your wife. You've been at war quite a bit. You need to go rest." He was trying to, kind of not let him on that was not going to be his child. But Uriah did not go. He stayed and camped outside of the door of the king because the war that he had just come back from, the Ark of the Covenant was out there. All the soldiers were out there. The people who were in charge of him were out there in tents, like a kind of a Sukkot thing. And it may have well been around Sukkot for all I know. I didn't look into that good enough. But yet he refused because of his faith, because of his faithfulness to the father, Abba Yahuwah, and the covenant, and the ark, and all of his brothers, that he stayed outside. He said, basically, am I to go home and eat and drink and have relations with my wife while my brothers are sitting out here? No, please. Abba forbid that, basically. And so he couldn't talk him into doing it. So there would be no cover for what David had done. And so after that thought process, it came to be in the morning that David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it by the hand of Uriah. And he wrote in the letter saying, "Set Uriah in the front of the toughest battle, and you shall turn away from him, and he shall be stricken and shall die." I call that murder. And it came to be, as Joab watched the city, that he appointed Uriah to the place where he knew there were brave men. That was 16. 17 reads, "And the men of the city came out and fought against Joab, and some of the people of the servants of David fell, and Uriah the Hittite also died." So he coveted his wife, and so he had him killed. 2 Samuel 11:26. "And the wife of Uriah heard that Uriah, her husband, was dead, and she lamented for her husband." So she wasn't happy about this. So that also leads to maybe this was a coercion. Okay. Why have you okay, and so let's move to 2 Samuel 12, verse 9. And this is Nathan. Nathan was sent to David by Yahuwah, Nathan the prophet. And he said, "Why have you despised the word of Yahuwah to do evil in his eyes? You have struck Uriah the Hittite with the sword." He blames it solely on David, as if he killed him himself, because he did. "And his wife you took to be your wife, and you have killed him with the sword of the children of Ammon." And even worse, the Ammonites. This was Nathan. And so I'm going to leave it right there. But 2 Samuel, the account of this this covetousness of Bathsheba through David, he committed adultery with her. He coveted her. He committed murder. Okay, so these things, one sin leads to another sin, and furthermore, one act of righteousness can lead to other acts of righteousness. So let's move on to the renewed covenant. So we went through the Torah, we went with some of the prophets, and now we have an account of covetousness in the renewed covenant, the book of Mattatyahu to be exact. And this is where Satan covets worship. He covets the bride, which are you and I. He covets the servant. He covets another man's servant. Check this out. Mattatyahu chapter 4, verse 1. "Then Yahushua was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tried by the devil," by Satan. "And after having fasted for 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. And the trier came and said to him, 'If you are the Son of Elohim, command that these stones become bread.' But Yahushua, he answering, said, 'It has been written, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of Yahuwah. And that's Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 3. Viable. You feel me? Then Hasatan, or the devil, took him up to the set-apart place, the set-apart city, and set him on the edge of the set-apart place, and said to him, If you are the son of Elohim, throw yourself down. For it has been written, He shall command His messengers concerning you. And this is Psalms 91, verse 11. And in their hands they shall bear you up so that you do not dash your foot against a stone. 91, verse 12, Psalms. Yahushua said to him, It is also written, You shall not try Yahuwah your Elohim. In other words, the Father will save you, but you shouldn't make Him be in that position, because He might just let you learn a lesson, right? Again, Hasatan, or the devil, took him up on a very high mountain and showed him all the reigns of the world, the rulership of the world, and their esteem, and the beautiful things, and said to him, All of these I shall give you if you fall down and worship me. Sounds like the garden. Then Yahushua said to him, Go, Satan, depart from me, right? For it is written, You shall worship Yahuwah your Elohim, and Him alone you shall serve. Covetousness, right? Then Hasatan, or the devil, left him, and see, messengers came and attended him. Okay, so Satan covets the worship of the body of Messiah. Literally, the Messiah. But the body of Messiah, the grouping of people that follow the Messiah, everywhere that He leads. We are the sheep that follow the Messiah, who is the shepherd. He is the gate. He is the door. And Satan doesn't just want to enter into a temple that's built over in Jerusalem. He wants to enter into you. He wants you to believe him, to take that mark. He wants you to act upon those lies, because lies are from Satan. And if you work towards them, your right hand, that is the mark. Believing and acting upon lies, religious, satanic, prefabricated lies that started in the garden and are alive and well right now in the Great Deception, which you are living in as we speak. That's right. Anything other than the Torah, the prophets, and the renewed covenant in context is a lie. Okay? If it's not in context and they all repeat each other multiple times, 2 to 3 witnesses, then if it's not that, then it's something else, and there's only one other choice. There's 2 choices. It's Abba Yahuwah, and then it's Hasatan, and the wide gateway of hell, with all the religions to go with it, because there's only one belief system. Only one. We can also find this story, this account of Yahushua's life in Luke chapter 4. And let's move on, and still let's go into the renewed covenant. I love the book of Yochanan. So let's go to Yochanan 12:3. And this is where Yehudas Iscariot, he coveted money, and he was into idolatry. He lied, he stole, and he murdered. He was a murderer. Who did he help murder? Okay. Yochanan 12:3. Then Miriam took a pound of costly perfume of nard, anointed the feet of Yahushua, and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with the fragrance of her perfume. The perfume. Then one of his taught ones, disciples, Yahudah from Kerioth, son of Shimon, who was about to deliver him, said, who was about to betray him, right? Why was this perfume not sold for 300 denarii and given to the poor? This is an interesting verse. 12:6. And he said this, not because he was concerned about the poor, but because he was a thief. Breaking number 8. And had the bag of money, and he used to take what was put in it. He used to steal from the bag of money that all of the disciples were collecting and getting from the people that donated to them. 12:7. Yahushua then said, let her alone. She has kept this for the day of my burial. She's respecting me. Something that you're not doing. For the poor you have with you always, but me you do not have always. So it sounds like we have a generalized statement here. For the poor are with you always, but me you do not have always. But I would have to also say it's a generalized statement, but it also, to me, you should look. It is also a specific point being made to Judas or Yehudas. Okay, he's like, you're gonna be surrounded by the poor always, and you're not gonna have me. Okay, so he will not have what Yahushua, salvation of Yahuwah. He will not have salvation. He is a murderer, and he did his father's work. So this is our study on the 10th commandment. Okay, hope you guys stuck with me. It's 35 minutes right now in, and I knew it would be quite a bit. I will be making other videos. This study sparked about 3 others, okay? And so that's one of the reasons why it took me so long. There's some other reasons, some personal issues that I'm going to address in a video coming up. And I'm going to have Sister Nicole with me for it because she deserves respect, and she also, I want her to be heard on this. We have both gone through some interesting times, and I just, it's going to be cathartic for her as well. Okay. Look, I love every single one of you. And like I always tell you, I can say that because it's true. My intention is to teach the word of Yahuwah. My intention is for every single one of you to learn these things and to love the Father with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might, and love your neighbors yourself. I am going to make a closing video that addresses all 10 commandments and and a bit of an understanding that I've developed from these commandments together, and maybe some information that you haven't heard before about this. Okay, so we'll see. Just keep tuning in. All right, keep coming back. I love you guys. Once again, like and subscribe if you made it to 36 minutes and 52 seconds. Okay, all right, shalom.